Yo, what's the deal? West side, west side, west side. You know what's going on. So, yeah, making a video, you know what I'm saying? And really, really coming to talk to the people, you know what I'm saying? And it's coming to let people know what's going on, you know what I mean? For real, what the fuck the deal is. And where I'm at and where I've been at on my spiritual path, for real, just sharing some wisdom and a lot of the things that, I've been I would say I've been discovering, because I really just been deep in my journey and enjoying it for real. For real. I've been enjoying me and really just, I would say when I say I'm enjoying me, I've been enjoying my growth and even becoming better with, I would say, with like the patience, but I don't want to say patience, but understanding things ain't gotta be a rush or a fast process, So as with ease, as things are to be, I've been like, I've been accepting and receiving that that's how I should be. You know what I'm saying? Not that I gotta be slow rolling, you know what I mean, or slow dragging, you know what I mean? But when it comes to like, having the balance and keeping a certain, frequency, to uphold, the energy, man. Um, I know that, I've been I've been doing a great work, you know what I'm saying? I know those out there doing the great work, can understand and feel the energy. And so with what I want to talk about, honestly, what I mean, is me. I love me and my mushrooms. I'm talking about. I love the ancestors. I love the spirit realm, and I love traveling. You know what I mean, when it comes to like uh, the space of mushrooms and the psychedelic realm and the spiritual realm, essentially all realms. You feel what I'm saying? And so that's what I'm into. You know what I mean? Outside of all the other shit. You know what I mean? I've been into other studies regarding the crystals, and that has been doing some great work for me when it comes to just my relationship with the crystals. Me understanding the crystalline energy and the crystal energy within the body and the mind, and just really like getting to know myself in a greater level. I would say of the soul and the star being, and that's some real shit. So I say that to say I've been taking my time, you know, just when it comes to like wanting to speak and show my face and all the shit like that. There ain't nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to like wanting to, get on this camera and shit and talk to people or, what I mean, connect, whatever, I personally just ain't been feeling that. Not like, okay, say I am now, you know what I'm saying? It's all good. You feel me? But that ain't what I'm saying. As far as like, okay, when it comes to delivering a message and what a nigga here for, I know that, I got some, wise and more valuable to say, and I'm not here for performance. You feel me? So I've just been more so gathering within my own sense of self, and not only that, just within I would say my range of connection to community and how I want to build within my reality, should I say? Yeah, and really just I would say connect with the world, cause shit, I'll be dolo, you know what I mean, or I'll be solo, I'll be 10 toes. Shout out to Dolo, you know what I mean. Shout out to the flight boss, you know what I mean. And that's just real, I'll be 10 toes and I'll be doing what the fuck I do, and so it's just like I don't really, I don't. I don't be doing too much, bothering too many people. You feel me? I be out the way, but at the same time, I know that there's others out there, what I mean, that maybe need to hear what I gotta say and vice versa, what I mean. We are here to, share the wisdom and learn from each other. But what I've been, coming to a great understanding within myself is how much I've been able to grow and I would say stay current. You feel what I'm saying? Because we could say present, and yeah, that's the same thing. But I would say current because on a concurrence of everything, past, present, and future, or like the akashic realm or the hyper realms, or or just everything being what it is. I've been I've been realizing that I would say the inseparability between, let's say, this life and this journey of this human and the vessel and what I may have been doing, going to work, you know what I'm saying, selling my clothes, you know what I mean, trying to, get the brand off the ground, all the shit that I've been, like, I would say, putting forth in my journey, in my self-investment. I would say that rather it has been showing me much more of how I'm able to grow, and I'm actually growing within my own sense of self and what I have to offer, and that's giving me more of my motivation and my goal. And so I'm loving that right now because, doing, or let's say, making something from nothing, you know what I mean? When you really got, like, let's say, when we talk about dreams, we talk about, the realms and everything like that. As much as a nigga do travel, as much as a nigga do, be tapping in and be tuning in and all of that, I would say this life that we live is definitely connected to the dream, and the dream that, let's say, you might even have here. Consider that, because I say that this life is a dream in the aspect of that your soul is having a dream of the spirit and the mind doing what it's doing here in this human body, right? So essentially, you can have a dream of the divinity in you, or the God in you, or let's say the essence of you, the creator you, the holistic you, the nature of you, right? Doing something, or let's say improving or enlightening or awakening, or let's say activating, a part of you, or let's say receiving a calling for you or of you, to where, within this life you fulfill and you achieve something of, let's say a greater, fulfillment, a greater stance in your life, you feel me? So I would say, how I want to say it, all right, when it comes to the inseparability of that, I've been realizing how much staying the course really means, beyond words, and even, commitment, encouragement, soul family, all of that, because when you know your soul, when you know yourself, you feel what I'm saying? Or put it like this, when you know your soul, you know yourself, you feel me? So as a spiritual being having this human experience, you could have an understanding, or even grow to have an understanding, and gain, I would say wisdom from, let's say other souls of wisdom, vice versa, you feel what I'm saying? So being of wisdom and being of one's own self-taught and experience, that's what a lot of the psychedelics and the mushrooms guides and provides when it comes to a direct interconnectedness of not only just being, but within the nature and the space of everything, environment, you know what I mean? So how you connect and how you are connected, you get what I'm saying? So that's where I've been realizing, just honestly, I've been having to, I ain't saying pat myself on the back, but I know how to hug myself or love myself, that ain't a problem, but really kind of like snap out of some old dynamics that maybe one could relapse on. And that's the truth, and that's my truth, I should say. And so when it comes to understanding the truth that you are now in, or living in, or let's say wising up in the current, right? That's where, let's say the accountability and the stance of what you take, really determines and defines the image you make, or you shape or create in the world, right? And so for what maybe I was expecting, I would say, within my recent journeys, or even just within just, my path right now, for certain things that I maybe have been expecting on my subconscious, or, but then I realized, like, wait, like, okay, well, if I ain't doing bad, you know what I mean? Or I don't say if I, because I don't want to look at it like I'm doing bad, or like I'm doing good, or none of that. But I say this to say, a lot of times people misjudge themselves by way of like, okay, I may not have this or that in the physical world, so, something might be off in the spiritual world. And that's not always the case, you feel what I'm saying? So understanding, like, the nature of who you are, what you are, why you are, how you are, in the moment of being, I find is a true thing, or could I say a truer thing? Shout out to nigga Nova, C Nova. You feel what I'm saying? But could I say a truer thing? You know what I'm saying? And in that case, it's more true, because you're not allowing rather the past or anything of the future possibility, let's say, conflict of what is the now, and you understand what the now is, and how to, let's say, affirm that into something greater, or make possibility, make the future. You feel what I'm saying? So then it becomes the mobility and the navigation of the spaces that you know what I'm saying, that you entering in. This is everything, and this is like we could take it, on an astral and spiritual quantum level. We could always bring it back here to the physical and how we live in these bodies. You get what I'm saying? So that's where one within the mind body should, let's say, want to go within, or let's say tap in, into the information that is already, let's say generating. You feel me? And I say information as light, or as the light is generating through, the consciousness that, let's say, we consider as thoughts and things and whatnot. And as it can be, understanding the difference between where you are in awareness to then have the thoughts that you are having and do the things that you are doing, or the ways in which you are attracted and drawn to the experiences that you are in. You feel me? All of this counts based on what you expect of yourself, and then how you're actually guiding and directing or misdirecting yourself. You feel me? Or redirecting yourself. Because in the same, let's say on mind control, or under mind control, if you're repeating the same experiences and going through the same shit, that's definitely mind control. So let's say no 2 days are the same, and it ain't too late to change. Shout out Mac Nichols. You feel what I'm saying? And within that, it's to understand that you should not be living every day the same. You shouldn't be wearing the same clothes every day. You shouldn't be doing the same shit every day. You know what I mean? Because when it comes to knowledge, truth even, things are always changing, transforming, or growing, or let's say becoming informing. You feel me? So where are you in awareness, where you are then taking the shape and form of your, your state of mind. You feel me? And for where I'm at, it's live. It's Westside Live right now. I ain't gonna lie. I've definitely been doing my thing, and I've been holding the space, and I've been, I would say, keeping my heart up. As I tell other people, I say, keep your heart up, because for real, the air and the spirit, the energy that we breathe comes through the heart. The heart space up into the mind, and so forth and so on. But overall, the heart space and the heart chakra being the biggest center in the chakra system, that is a key factor to how we navigate between the higher and lower planes, essentially. So, to let's say, while one is here, within these bodies is really, and then with all the shit going on, the thing I would say is to guard is your heart as much as your mind, because understanding the heart space as a place of neutrality, whereas the mind can be in duality, whereas in between thoughts of negative or positive, it can distinguish between, this, that, the third, right? Well, the heart can just rather be neutral and see things as is. So recognize one being as is, or let's say, where are you as is in the way that you are doing whatever you do, what places you there, and I'm not saying that it's mushrooms for everybody. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that, okay, within your journey, within your learning, within your living, where is it that you are then finding freedom, or let's say discovering peace, which is also truth, because the truth is what sets you free. So in that discovery of whatever, then, let's say, sparks the joy and the light within the mind and body that says, oh, what cuts the light bulb on inside of you, or what sparks, the flame and the fire within you, And I say that to say, know yourself, know thyself, know the self, and essentially be yourself and get to know yourself and learn yourself. Don't negate from yourself, whether consciously or unconsciously, because often what happens is that we negate from experiences, we negate from wisdom, we negate from all type of shit, just based on unconscious fears. And that's another thing that, I had got into, and was just understanding that, when it comes to I would say, the human capability, and understanding, the greater essence of this thing, because who you are let's say, as this body and mind, is not the end all to be all. So when we speak of the essence or the soul and the spirit and the energy that you then embody, this, let's say, this represents the presence, right? And so when you know your presence, you know what I mean? And I mean your presence as far as like how you show up and enter and step on the scene of earth and do your thing, you feel me? Before you get to showing up for anybody or anything, how you show up for yourself and how your presence speaks for itself or as self, then one will get to know and get to learn and get to discover the things that, you know, one need to, you know, bridge or burn, you feel me? And then these are the well, let's say, like, learning curves, you know what I mean? And many a times the gateways and the spaces and the pathways are always there and open, but due to unconscious fears, most people don't challenge their mind to let's say, break through the mind and understand the spirit. And I say break through because when you're caught up in the mind or you're imprisoned by the mind, you know what I'm saying, as far as being caught up in ideas and thoughts and things that are rather attached to, you know, let's say a non-action or an action or a pattern that is not evolving or growing or benefiting, you feel what I'm saying? And let's say in that way you're a cognitive dissonance, you feel me? To break through that, you know what I mean, is to have self-realization. And I find that when it comes to the path, you know, of when it's like, let's say, in self-realization, you know what I mean, one should look forward in transformation. And I say that to say, when you are called, you know what I'm saying, consider the choices you make for yourself and how you choose yourself. You feel what I'm saying? Choose yourself. Know that you choose yourself and you've chosen yourself, and you are able to choose for yourself before anything or anyone else. Because many a times before one can even receive, people give up, you know? And so when it comes to achieving or doing anything, you know, I say this to say that what the human body and this mind is capable of, you know, and you know, even in the world, is so much more based on the levels of spirit and the soul of which, you know, we embody, but only we also can travel and activate, and you know what I'm saying? So as we get to know ourselves here on earth, you know what I mean, for those doing this work, it is the truth or the revelation that one should be looking for, but it's also in being the revelation, right? And so that's the self-discovery. And in that self-discovery, it could be, I mean, shit, let's say based on past, present, future, we know of how the memory, you know, plays, you know what I mean? We know how things, you know, record themselves. So when you get to know yourself in different spaces and places beyond, you know what I'm saying, rather a false idea, you know what I mean, or people, you know, who rather, you know, give you their suggestions or recommendations. When you get to, you know what I mean, open up those hidden spaces within your own being, you know what I mean, then I would say you'll be able to connect to everything. Your adaptability and how you're able to nurture and nourish yourself and grow can be much at ease and better than a lot of the pain and suffering that one could take on, let's say, as an empath, right? You know, and so I say that to say is to really get down to your truths or your truth in total, for, you know, fulfillment, right? Get down to your truth and the truth that you are in, not the truth that you had or the truth that you was or the truth that is going to be or all that. You get to where the fuck you at right now. Because that's how you can gauge in on either or and understand where you are coming from, and then where, let's say, between the scales, where you are balanced, where you are light, you feel me? And that's even in the heart, you know what I'm saying? So that is that is a major thing right now, based on the level of intuition and just like interconnectedness, because the inner dialogue and the inner being, right, is what's really governing and running the whole thing, right? So when you integrate or you become or one or realize that you are the inner being that's governing the whole thing, and you start to navigate the mind the way that you ought to, right, based on who you are, where you are, and where you are choosing or how you are choosing to be and show up and represent yourself in the the truth, right, and the freedom, right, and the peace, right, you know what I'm saying, as the king or queen or god, goddess, whatever, right, as the divine being. When you do that, there's not a forgetfulness, you know what I'm saying? And I say that to say, based on unconscious fears and unconscious thought patterns and all the shit, because it's not all unconscious fears for people. Some people just be forgetful. I mean, shit, I ain't gonna, the mind can forget, right? And so to know where you at in the quest of your soul's spiritual journey, you know what I'm saying? Knowing where you at in the quest of it, you know what I mean, like the GPS of it, you know what I mean, can very much help you when it comes to really understanding, you know what I mean, for one, the dimension and the space that you at and the timeline you in within this world, you know what I'm saying? And it all goes back to the stories. That's what I would say, the stories that you tell yourself, or the stories that may have played out and that you experienced as rather a truth. You feel me? You know what I mean? And then even then, that's how you will know when you get to, dissecting and decoding all of those, when you know your experiences versus other experiences that you may have taken on or you may have dreaded on based on your sensitivity or your empathic ability of being who you are. You know what I mean? So getting to understand the nature of your heart and maybe how unconsciously or consciously one maybe has taken on damage or pain and suffering and whatnot, but let's say for what reason. These are all the things where you got to dig in. And this is also where the transformation is made, based on the patterns and sequences and the codes and things that you download, you know what I'm saying? And so when I say the codes and the patterns and things you download, of course I'm talking about information, but at the same time, I'm talking about what inspires the action, you know what I mean? Your inspiration, what influences you and what moves you or motivates you to do the things you do, consciously or unconsciously. These are the things that should be of your study, or that becomes of your study as you grow, as you know what I mean? But at the same time, as you know more of yourself in the no self or the selfless, right? You know what I mean? You realize more of what you don't need, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, what you don't need from the world, you know what I mean? Although it may be available as a choice and experience, or, you realize it's there, you feel me? And this is where it's very intricate, because the attachment of the mind and body to this world and to this experience, to the people and places and things and all of that, you feel me, is really what, let's say, keeps this shit going. You know what I'm saying? And so when it comes to your peace, when it comes to really your sovereignty, your freedom, and all of that, truth be told, that's inside. And how you activate that, how you live in that, how you embody that, how you empower that, you feel me, is through self-awareness, straight up. You know what I'm saying? And how you there's so many ways to learn, you know what I mean? As in, there's no limit. And so I say that to say, based on one half of the brain, many a times niggas limit themselves, you know what I'm saying? And niggas limit themselves and handicap themselves, literally even, within the body and mind, based on the suffering and pain unconsciously of the things that we maybe expect or we don't expect, you know what I'm saying? And so within that is where we create them fears, or what as some people say, the false evidence appearing real, you feel me? And so how that is formed is through a rather a subtly unknowing that then is trying to hold on to whatever knowing that maybe it might have. Let's say it's as good as dead. It is. You feel me? And so in a survival state, that's where that comes from. You know what I'm saying? And one has to know how to go beyond that, or recognize where you are beyond that, and in your truth to not dangle in between realms. You feel what I'm saying? Or even timelines and storylines and places and spaces of which you think you have to navigate because of whatever. You feel me? And that's a key thing, because when it comes to the growth of your soul and your spiritual being, you know what I'm saying, in nature, that is counted on you as far as like how you live here. You know what I'm saying? So once you integrate or become self-aware, or let's say you claim anything of the sort and you go forward, let's say you challenge the spirit, you know what I'm saying? And with free will, you are able to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's only one way or another in that you become, you know, or you overcome, let's say, the challenge to become who you always was or always is. You know what I'm saying? And so that is then the self-realization. And, you know, I'm saying this in a way of that it is much more than the physical to that, you know, how your nature of you being a star or the nature of you being a cosmic being, you know what I'm saying, is much more interconnected within how we live and do what we do, whether we know it or not. And so the whole thing is to know where you're going, but in order to know where you're going, you got to know where you come from. So to be able to tap into your origin, you know what I mean, and even let's say your origin of now, you know what I'm saying, what led you to the moment of now and the moment of truth now and the way that you exist in now, not then, or even in the fucking hereafter. You know what I'm saying? But overall, it's just like it's the consistency. You know what I mean? And this is where it's not that you gotta know everything or have every book or know every meditation or know all the mudras, and it's not about that. No, but the study of self and how, let's say, self exists. You know what I'm saying? That is where the exploration of how you exist, where you exist, why you exist, all of the other half of the brain can come together with the start of the brain. I'll say the right brain, you know what I mean? So the right brain being the creative side, you know what I mean, being the chaos side, as some people say, the dark side, right? You know, and the left side being the logical side of the brain, or left hemisphere. Either way it go, nigga, you don't have one half a brain, you got a whole cranium, you know what I'm talking about? So going beyond that in the spectrum of light, you know what I mean, and what you project, right? It's not to be so against yourself. You know what I mean? Or it's not to be so incapable of yourself and with the things that you challenge yourself with in the way that you want to do or want to experience whatever you experience, you know? And I say that to say, you know, many a times people, you know, they run away from mushrooms and they're scared of it from a place of unconscious fear or other things that they heard and hear when they're not realizing it knowing themselves or looking for themselves. You feel me? And so that's where the misunderstanding of a lot of people have with mushrooms, you know, or anything, when you're not looking for yourself, you know, in the room or wherever you may be, or let's say in the future, you know what I'm talking about? When you're not looking for yourself, then essentially you're not gonna find yourself. You know what I mean? You're gonna be ignorant, and you might become somebody else. You might get cloned out this bitch. So you know what I'm talking about? It's really a level of I wanted to say self-control, but I'm going to just say self-awareness, because in that self-awareness, you can understand where the control is held or had to where you don't need to control everything and you could just be. You feel me? So it's not so much self-control in as much as just that, you know, realizing your awareness and how that awareness exists in the way it is without the outer judgment of your mind, as in lowering it or lessering it to what you would consider to be a thought or idea or whatever, but actually understanding the experience or the organization of all things being one, inseparable. You feel me? And so even down to the words we speak. Shouts out to my nigga Azazel, because he said some real shit. And what he says, Wakandaga. You know what I'm talking about? That's his name now. You know, don't forget. But no, shouts out Azazel Bay, because he spoke on the fact that even with the words we speak are delayed in time of, you know, from the thoughts that we have concurred or have occurred or reoccurred in our mind. You know what I mean? So that lets you know one can go beyond or is able to go beyond the capacity of the mind, as in a stillness of the mind. A stillness of the mind to where the mind is not so fragile in between itself and not whole. You feel what I'm saying? So this is where some may say, you know, an empty mind. You know what I'm talking about? And you know, they say empty mind for a house, and they, you know, so you know, you do that, you do the math on that, you get that. But overall, these are things of rather truths, you know what I mean, that then get revealed from experience, or let's say one's own wisdom or way of wisdom in the what we say words, right? But my whole thing is the creation of that and how we come into being, but then at the same time where one is, because that is then where you can then, all right, if you know where you are in one spot, then you know that whatever is available within that ramification, within that environment, within that nature, whatever element, right? Then you know whatever do you know what you're able to connect to in that space, or even that you need to connect to do it or accomplish what you are doing within the space or realm you in. And my thing is, many a times that forgetfulness is what keeps people away from their dreams. That forgetfulness keeps people doubting the spirit or the soul actually awakening, you know, one's mind and body to the essence of being. You feel what I'm saying? So even when, you know, let's say we wake up and we do what we do, or we just live, or we be on this earth, right? We on this planet. Many a times niggas don't even consider their reality and experience as to being something of which they chose. And so in the unconsciousness of choice, if you don't know, right, that you know what you know, you will give your choice or your responsibility away, as into where when you really are meant to take accountability and able to shape and shift and do and change the narrative, right? When you're really able to do that, then that's from a place of knowing and let's say one's own knowing. You feel what I'm saying? And so being able to go beyond status quo, you know, or what society or what the world says, you know, with the billboards and the news and all the shit, you know what I mean? The Instagram reels, the hashtags, and even the books, nigga, even all that shit. To go beyond all that shit and to recognize one's own authority and what one says and one's own idea or understanding. Fuck the idea, but the understanding of truth in the idea of whatever it is that you deem as true, right? And so I find this comes with not only learning, but being consistent and being true to oneself. Being true to the consistency of trusting the spirit and the soul within oneself to guide one as one is guided, right? So understanding and getting to learn of why do you do the things you do, why the patterns are the way they are, and even when you are frustrated with them, you know what I'm saying, what is the frustration? Is it the mind frustrated, or is it the spirit that's frustrated? You know what I'm saying? Is it like, you know what I mean, which part of you is really having an issue? Because ultimately these are where you're in between the levels of growth and transformation, you know what I'm saying, or repeating or recurring a lesson, you know what I'm talking about? And so, you know, it's just like some say, failure is just another way of success. You know what I'm saying? So depending on what you feel at, how you feel at, you just understand that it's another way if you keep an open mind. You know what I'm talking about? And so if you keep an open mind, then you're able to receive, let's say that divine wisdom. You know what I'm talking about? And then when I say open mind, it's really open heart. Because when you stay lighthearted with that open mind, then you're able to repel and let's say release and let things go as they need to be, and not to be so held on to things that are not of your own sensitivity and what the fuck you are actually choosing or looking for within yourself to endure and embrace. You feel me? And so really getting to know yourself, you know what I mean, like on a whole level, on a greater level, you know what I mean, definitely comes with being able to challenge those unconscious fears and say, you know what, fuck it. You know what I'm talking about? And do it the way you want to do it, or how you want to do it, or how you are meaning to do it, because you understand the divine intervention that you are, let's say, rather causing for or calling for or called for. Either way it go, And so getting into the discovery of knowing, or let's say that knowing, whatever that knowing is, how much of that can, let's say, can you wield, or how much of that can grow you or show you more of what you need, or more of what you, let's say, desire within self, or within, your reality. You know what I mean? And that's some real shit, because oftentimes when people are healing or going through the healing or talk about healing, especially in the mushroom world, I find, and this has been said before, shout out to Baba, but it's like, it ain't even about all of that healing. You could realize where you have healed and keep going up the hill or go farther, you know what I mean? Because it's not so much about that. It's really much about the exploration of what the, consciousness, and how you, do what you do. But if you don't even know if that is you, as in you are being inspired or doing what you do, then you got to consider what influence are you under: weed, alcohol, speed. I'm just saying, I'm just fucking around. But it's true though. You got to understand your influence, either from self or your self-inspiration, because it is a difference between influence and inspiration. So therefore, if you understand the difference between inspiration and influence, you would know that the inspiration is the spirit. The influence is the mind. So the mind could be influenced while you could be in the spirit of an action that is to come, or that has came, inspiration. So when it comes to you doing what you do, right, this is all where the heart come in, because the mind or the brain will, construct chatter and make up all sorts of shit unconsciously, where you consciously think and then agree with it, right? And so now it is, because you just talking shit to yourself, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just here to say, you really ain't gotta do all that. And when you understand that, you know what I mean, then you could reverse the psychology, or you could then move around these nerve pathways that need not be, and grow a greater consciousness or a mind itself. You know what I'm saying? Change the structures and the systems of thoughts of the brain. You know what I'm saying? Because essentially the limits or the inhibitions you put on your own brain or your mind is the limits you have, or you put on your consciousness, which is really no limit. And I'm not, like I said, it's not to know everything, you know what I mean? But when it comes to this experience and this life, right, it's to understand that everything is within. So if everything is within, then that means you must be capable of all the shit you doing, driving, you know what I'm talking about, going to work, you feel what I'm saying, going to club, you know what I'm talking about, going broke, getting more money, you know what I'm talking about, what are you not capable of in survival? You feel me? So if you could break through survival or understand the level of the element of survival and what that truly is of a nature of consciousness, then you can say fuck that, And that's how I feel. You can say fuck that, because I feel that survival is just a level above death. Survival is death, nigga. So it ain't no survival. Either you live or you're dead. Either you living or you're dying. Either one. But you choose that through the way that you consider the path of your mind and mental plane and frame of experience. You feel me? So really owning your truth, owning your path, but owning the fact of which you are then, let's say, organizing and forming and creating and shaping the way that you are to be or would like to be or see yourself as imaginary, right? Then even when things are seeming scary, you could distinguish between like, nah, that ain't it, or that ain't me. You know what I'm talking about? Because you know the difference between, let's say, what you would do and what you would not do, or what you want to do or what you don't want to do. So it's not that it's a fear, it's just rather a wisdom or something that rather that's like, nah, not over here. You know what I'm talking about? And so how you stand, within, your inner being, you know what I'm saying? How you raise oneself up within the temple, you know what I mean? How you raise oneself up and awaken oneself up out of the tomb, you know what I'm talking about? Is, I find, it's a level of vocation. You know what I'm saying? But the vocation is also the action of which you take every day. You know what I mean? So then it's all levels of vocation. Invocation, evocation, provocation, incantation. I'm just saying all the shit. But at the same time, the level of vocation and through the work, through how you invoke a concept, a thought, how you invoke and evoke yourself. You know what I'm saying? So how you open your eyes and you come into the space and place of being of the body, the mind, right? And so this experience itself, and realizing that is much more to it in the way that you do it. You feel what I'm saying? So as they say, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And recognizing the way that you do it is your way. You feel what I'm saying? So realizing what your way is would then become your study, or let's say your school of thought. You know what I'm talking about? And that is where, beyond all of the, or no, fuck it. Even with all of the pain and suffering and all of the bullshit, you can extract all of the great sparks of uniqueness that manifested from everything. You know what I'm saying? From the darkness comes light. So from all of the shit, you know what I'm saying, you're able to pick what you need as much as what you want to then impose or embody, or let's say raise up, you know what I'm saying, an awareness for, let's say, an understanding or a greater understanding of what we'll say truth. You know what I'm talking about? And so, it's just like, for where I'm at, in my truth, honestly, the realization was just, understanding I don't gotta go backwards. I don't gotta do as much as I thought I had to do. You know what I'm saying? It's not as much chaos going on, at least in my journey and path. And I know it's not, because I ain't living like, chaotically. I'm not embracing, or, rather I'm not opening doors to that shit. So rather in the experience of what maybe I don't even know, and it's some real shit. Because I'm not gonna say I don't know why, but I know that a lot of these things and thoughts, come from an old chapter in my path of my life, in which I had to realize, like, man, I'm not even reading that book right now. Word is bond, I'm not even reading that book right now. So it's like, what? You know what I'm talking about? I'm in a whole new Bible, nigga. You know what I'm talking about? I'm in a whole new. I'm in tablets, nigga. I'm in papyruses. You know what I'm talking about? That's what I'm. Not even like that, but I'm speaking metaphorically as far as where I'm at in my journey. I'm in much more of a greater path of inscription, and how I come into being and do my thing. I had to really be like, dang, because what I was expecting, from all the bullshit, you know what I mean, and then that let me know, you know what I mean, what all the bullshit is. And so it's just like, I ain't studying it, and I'm not even gonna, let's say, I'm not investing my time into that. But then it only brought me back and it drew me back into, let's say, the things that I've been doing now, and I would love to say shout out to Miss Blue, because I've been working with the Galactic E-Files, and really that has been, I guess, for more greater understanding, that has been attuning me so much, where I don't want to say I haven't been realizing, but I got a chance to see that and explore that in ways that I don't know, I didn't expect. And so that's just, that's the love right there. And I say this to say, even it's a thing of not regressing on ways that you feel you have to be, you know what I mean, or even consider thought to be anything, you know what I mean, especially when you know who you are, you know what I'm talking about, and I mean, when you know who you are, you don't gotta, you know what I'm saying, you ain't gotta fake it, you know what I mean, you ain't gotta fake it, all you gotta do is embrace it, don't chase it, You know what I'm saying? Because when you understand how you are, I ain't gonna say that, but when you know how you are and how you come here and how you do what you do from a level of learning you and being you, and then you know what I mean. What's the word? Carving out the way that you ought to be for who you know yourself to be. That's when you can recognize it and get your shine on. Like truthfully, you know what I mean? No holds barred, you know what I mean? No outer opinions, thoughts and things, feelings, you know what I mean? None of that. And I say that to say it's so much more that is to be experienced and explored, but the way you do it will determine how you experience it. And that's the same thing with mushrooms. So it's like, how you invoke yourself. You know what I'm talking about? But at the same time, your intentions, your heart, even your unconscious intentions, because that's a big thing I find is the biggest thing. Because nigga, your unconscious intentions are gonna show whatever you do. But in a space of mushrooms, your unconscious fears, your unconscious tensions, or your unconscious intentions are gonna show like probably never before. So you gotta know what it is truly before, or let's say foregoing of which and how you are to be, and even furthermore, where are you looking to find yourself, in the space and place, time, whatever, right? And understand the magic of your own manifestation already being. So I say this to say it's a certain authority that you have that rather calls you into, certain spaces, you know what I mean? And it's the reason for why you do what you do. But if you don't learn, or if you don't seek that exploration or understand it as rather a science or a study, or even in its own essence, right? Then you'll always be negating from the revelation, realization, transformation, awakening, all of that. You always conflict with it and construct something other than yourself, right? You always put, something of other deity or other energy other than your own, other than your own identity, and I'm not even saying it from a level of just your identity, like your name and none of that, but I mean like your true self, you feel me? So whoever you are at the space, time, and moment, and the place to be, you did, you know what I'm talking about? And it's not that you are in a space of, like they say, jack of all trades and master of none. Nah, none of that. You understand from a soul level of nature within the spirit that you're all the spirits. So at any given time, with let's say no time and space, right? You could be a mad spirit, you could be a happy spirit, you could be a anxious spirit, you know what I'm saying? You could be, it's so many spirits, but at the same time, what is your spirit? What does your energy say? How does your energy speak? And what is the language of you? You feel me? What is the language of your own universe? And when you get to explore that, and I would even say, get to see the growth of that. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. You know what I mean? You could love yourself some more. You know what I'm talking about? So that's really where I've been at. I've been learning to love myself some more in all the ways that I know love, because I know who I am, and I'm knowing who I am, and I'm seeking more of that within my path and my journey. So within my own, space of embodiment, I just been doing me truthfully, and at the same time seeing where I'm able to grow, or I'm called to grow and expand. And I know in one way it's here to come share the wisdom and message from my own lips, from my own mouth, you know what I'm talking about? So that's where it's just like, I don't know, like I say shit. I mean, I do got things coming, you know what I'm talking about? I am working on some things. So, I just been kind of like taking my time, because I am one man band, you know what I'm saying? One man mafia, you know what I mean? I am that, and at the same time, I'm not alone. But what I'm, looking to put forth is something strong and it's something strong and firm in its foundation. So in that, I've been taking my time with it. I ain't rushing. And, I just put this out there for the West Side Tribe, Chief West Side. You can get at me on Instagram, Chief West Side 7. And yeah, man, holla at me, you know what I mean? Get at me, you know what I mean? We talk, you know what I mean? Talk shit, kick shit on the consciousness, you know what I mean? I will be putting out a few, I would say, lectures, you know what I mean? A few things on Patreon, the things that I'm working on, and I will be, announcing some things. You know what I'm saying? I will be making some great announcements. So be on the lookout, be in tune. And West Side, West Side, West Side. Gratitude.